filmfestivalcircuit.com and the director of the Portland Comedy Film Festival. We've got an event coming up in November, on the 13th of November at the Clinton Street Theater, and we're going to be featuring all kinds of funny films that are comedies, from funny music videos to TV pilots to mockumentary films to dark comedy to horror comedy to just regular old comedy, slapstick comedy, sketch comedy, you name it. The intention of the festival is to make the audience laugh. And we are joined by director Carl Emerton. Hey, Carl.
Hey, Michael. How you going? Thanks for having me.
Thanks for being on. And your music video, I Crashed My Drone in Texas, is nominated for the best or the funniest music video award. And you're also nominated for the Best International Director Award. Congrats.
Yeah, well, that's an honor. It's a bit of a surprise, to be honest, but it's a great honor.
Well, I think the judges were very impressed with, not only the production value, but the whole concept of the music video. And your beautiful lead actor there is really, really good in this. And everyone enjoyed it to the point where, even I didn't realize it until the last minute, but my judges in San Antonio, Texas, loved it as well. And the scorecards are there for all different reasons. They love the production and the color and just the vibrance of it, and the title. So October 22nd will be playing at Texas Short Film Festival. So you're doing the whole circuit here. Congrats.
Yeah, well, as I say, it was a bit of a buzz, really. I mean, I did that. There's a bit of a funny story behind it. And he's close to me, but he's my son. But I didn't tell you he's my son, okay? But he was filming in Texas for a hotel group, just doing a website thing for them. And adjacent to that hotel event, there's a US Air Force base in Marfa. And he was holding his drone console, and suddenly across the drone console, it said, "You're being decommissioned," and his drone just dropped out of the sky. So he came home and he said, "Guess what, Dad? I crashed my drone in Texas." And instantly, that sounded like a country song to me, you see. So I must admit, I wrote it as a parody of country music to a certain extent, but it became more than that because by fluke, I met a country music icon from Australia, a guy called Bill Chambers, and he helped me. Like I wrote the music and the lyrics to the song, but he's such a maestro, it became a real country song. So, it works both ways, really. But initially it was a parody, but it grew much more than a parody. It's a great song.
Great. Well, I was going to ask you about, the motivations behind doing it. That's a pretty funny story. But you got to be careful flying those drones around. The military can get a little touchy about those things.
Yeah, exactly.
What did you learn during this production?
Well, look, to be perfectly honest, I'm a retired optometrist, and I worked in my own practice for about 40 odd years. I did make a short film about 8 years ago, and I was a novice, complete novice, right? But I wrote a song because there was a lot of nice imagery, but no audio. And I wrote a song that went in that, and I won an award in Nice in France for Best Original Song in Cinema. Okay, so I learned from that. That inspired me to go forward. But then, unfortunately, I got melanoma. That's why I'm so pink on the screen at the moment. I've lost all my pigment, right? Because I was getting about 3 or 4 months to live. It's a long story, I know, mate. But I survived the stage 4 melanoma because of the immunotherapy. So I had to put everything in abeyance for a while. But then this song, after my experience there, it gave me inspiration to get back into the filmmaking, but in a smaller way, not a short film like I made before. And I learned that I have innate skills. I haven't been technically trained properly, but being an optometrist, I've got a good idea of how lenses work and which lens is appropriate for cameras and that sort of thing. And I learned that I enjoy doing it all the time, So if I'd known this sort of thing way back, I would have become a filmmaker, not a optometrist.
Well, now you got both. So
yeah. But I did learn a lot. I learned about See, this is another part of my aspects of my personality. I was a rugby coach for a long time, and I was an elite rugby coach, and I'm used to directing people, telling them what to do to get a certain outcome. So I found that from my experience in the rugby, I can gently tell people what I want them to do.
Mm.
And prior to us coming on air, you mentioned the young lady that's the star of my music video. So she's not professional. She lives across the road from me. Okay. So she works in a local coffee shop. And I said, Rosie, would you consider being in my music video for me? She said, oh, yeah, why not? So, as I say, I've learned how to direct people in a gentle way to get the best out of them. Some other rugby coaches, they can be either macho, or they can be heavy-handed, or they can be gentle, or they can have lots of vision. Like it's all personality suit for all sorts of things. But anyway, that's what I've learned, and that's how I think I get the best out of people on screen.
Well, that's interesting. You got to learn. You got to use the resources around you. If you want to have any staying power in this business, as far as money and things like that, you have to use what is around you, and that's great that you're just able to recruit like that. I think that's very inspiring. You recruit the people, and you get inspired by a song, and it's like you change directions, and finally here you are with this music video, and it's really good. It's really funny. You make us look good. We're going to put this one on screen in Portland, put this one on screen in San Antonio, and I think the crowds are really going to enjoy it. So I definitely appreciate you making and taking the time, because it looks really. You say the right lenses. It's a little more than that. I mean, the framing, the color. You have a lot of innate abilities that don't look like you're an amateur or inexperienced filmmaker. It really does have a slick, professional look.
Well, that's very kind of you to say that, but yeah, it's like my approach is professional, but I'm really an amateur who'd like to be a paid professional. There's a lot of people I know, but certainly. I got, when I made that original film a few years ago, I got an editing suite, so I learned a bit about putting things together, and I have researched things like framing, composition, that sort of thing. So I work on that. Like if I tell you about the process, it might let some secrets out for the film, but it doesn't matter. Most of the people who see the film won't necessarily see this, but there's about 3 layers in it, and so the drone sequence, like the train and the initial opening sequence from the car looking into the desert, that's all Texas. And that's my son's imagery, okay? I admit that I've stolen his imagery, but everything else in the film is my imagery. And I filmed it on my veranda or my deck because I've got good sunlight where I live. And so I got Rosie across the road to stand in front of a green screen, and I filmed her on the green screen. And then I filmed my other son flying his drone around, and I filmed that. So there's about 3 tiers within the one shot that you see.
Wow. Okay.
And also there's a scene in a bar, and I didn't have all the lighting and that sort of thing that you need, but I knew that if I had a fast lens with a big aperture, if I put that in front of the camera, and then I asked her a few questions, and then actually I made a compliment to her. I wasn't being cheeky, but I just said that she reminded me of a young J-Lo, you see, and she went all gooey and almost embarrassed, but it brought out the natural aspect of her personality. So I was able to capture that when she was well, in the song, it's about the person trying to figure out why they can't find their real lover, but it looks like she's asking the same questions within the film.
Excellent. Well, what's next for you?
Well, a mate of mine, he's got an interesting background, and so he's had a family member that was actually he enlisted in the army in the First World War, and he went away to the Middle East. But on the way there, he was told to go to the King's horses. This guy was an Aboriginal guy, okay? So he he was a really good horseman, and and he looked after the king's horses for a while. Then he came back, and no, so then he went to the trenches in France and was killed. And the king, this is a true story, the king was devastated, and he sent my friend's family home a jewel in respect of how much he held the guy in esteem.
Hmm.
But my mate wants me to write a song, and then I'll probably make a video about that song, telling that story. That's the next process. I've also got something else brewing, which is more of a feature idea, but you know, they're two parallel things happening at once.
All right. Well, that's exciting to hear about your new project. So, sounds like a very interesting story. I can't wait to see what it is you come up with this song. You're going to stick with music videos for a while?
Um, well, this other thing, as I said, like it's got the short feature film. Well, it's not even a short; it's a feature film that I've got.
Mm,
It's a bit intangible at the moment, or nebulous. I'm
mm.
trying to put things together. And
No
the same
worries.
thing, I've got to get you know, resources. I've got to figure out a way of doing it. But with the song, that is a very Australian story, because it's about a young Aboriginal boy that was basically taken from his home by the authorities back in the day. Then he was sent to a mission, didn't like the mission, got some education, but was really learnt farming and horsemanship. And so I've somehow got to condense all that into a song. So that's a fairly intense, that's going to take me a while, because even though it's going to be a short thing, I've got to somehow do it justice.
Gotcha. All right. Was there anything you want to add before we go?
Well, no, I'd just like to thank everyone over there for supporting my little effort in movie making. I mean, as I say, I took it seriously and I took it as a professional approach, but love to thank the Portland Comedy Festival judges and the Texas short film judges, because at fair income, I never expected anything like this. It's fantastic. The other day, I won a couple of, well, I've been awarded as a finalist in a couple of other film festivals. So it's a song that just keeps giving for me, you know, like I did it
It
as a bit
is.
of fun initially, but I got to learn, I got to meet a great Australian musician, and it's just enriched my life completely, you know, and I wasn't expecting it.
Sure, sure. Well, the judges appreciate you. You make us look good, and best of luck. I think you got a bright career ahead. So keep doing what you're doing.
Thanks very much, Michael.
No worries. Have a good one. Bye.